Hey, it's Isabelle here with Be Wise Gardens, and today we're actually at the Bureau of Land Management offices where they have some pretty elaborate native plant landscapes and interactive gardens. And so this is a really cool, informative, interactive garden that talks all about native plants and the uses of them and history of native plants. I'm pretty sure it was installed by Holly Hovis and a few other people. I'm sure there's many volunteers involved in that sort of thing, but pretty cool garden. I did not do anything to help it get established, but now we're here helping maintain it and just kind of seasonally clean it up here and there, since we have some passion for native plants. So we'll just kind of walk around in this area and talk about how you could implement some of these native plants into a more non-traditional landscape in your own home, something that is ecologically very friendly to our environment and in this region, and also great for habitat, native bees, native birds, native snakes and lizards, and we'll talk about some plant material and some pathway material and maybe some maintenance aspects too. So just follow me down this way. There are many different layers to a garden like this, and this has definitely a more wild style than you might have in your own landscape. So this area actually isn't that big, but a lot of these plants do need to be in areas where they can naturalize, where they can reach their full maturity and become very large. So we have things like ponderosa pines, we have this mountain mahogany. I think this one is a little leaf mountain mahogany. You can see that it is a very large, almost like plains type of shrub. There are evergreens, of course, and then our classic sagebrush, Great Basin sagebrush, which there's one right there, and there's one here, and they're kind of scattered throughout. There's a few different shrubs in here too, but mainly it starts with your large shrubs and trees, and then is staggered down to all the way down to the ground level where there's grasses that have continued to just mulch and become very naturalized. So there's probably some Idaho bunch grasses, Idaho fescues in here, as well as buckwheats, snow buckwheats, and information on all of these things too as you walk through. One of the things that you'll see in a lot of native gardens, whether installed or maybe even just walking in the Boise foothills, is rock mulches as ground cover versus bark material. Because we naturally have a lot of this sandy material in our foothills and our mountains, people will oftentimes bring this in to create that same feeling, and the plants really do benefit, the native plants benefit from a well-draining environment, so that sandy, rocky texture doesn't hold too much moisture and eventually rot the plants. So a lot of our native plants are drought tolerant, unless they are, the only exception to that is if they are riparian native plants, and that's just like the plants that you'll find on our riverbanks and our waterways. So this area is more the drought tolerant side of things. And again, the rock mulches, they're very easy to take care of. Usually they don't blow away as much as bark might, and they also are, they keep the soil lean, and so they don't build up a lot of acidity. Our soils here in Idaho, if you ever hear someone talk about soil pH, that's what they're talking about, the alkalinity or the acidity of soil. So in Idaho, we pretty much always have alkaline soil, unless you're talking an area that's been amended for a long time, or maybe is in a really highly forested area where a lot of needles and leaves and things like that can decompose and add to the organic matter, which ups the acidity. So here, again, very natural kind of style. We've got pathways walking through the native sagebrushes and some sumac bushes. And this area is just starting to leaf out, but the things that are, there's a red twig dogwood that is more of a riparian native plant. And rubber rabbit brush. This one is a smaller one. Usually you see them and they have a lot of seed heads. So one of the things that's really cool about native gardens is that now these days a lot of different nurseries are actually taking the same species and cultivating them to become more ornamental or become a better habit, something that might be a little bit neater for smaller gardens, for people who don't want to spend a lot of time pruning. So look up some native plant nurseries in your area, and maybe you can incorporate some really early flowering shrubs like a golden currant into your landscape. So one of the nurseries that does provide a lot of cool water thrifty plants is Dragonwing Nursery. They're in Boise, Idaho, and they usually have a lot of good information on their plants as well and what might be the right fit for your garden. This is a much larger rubber rabbit brush, so that's kind of how big they get. When you're walking in the foothills, you recognize those as the ones that have the really deep yellow, bright yellow blooms in the fall. So kind of in August, September, October with the silvery foliage once again. And they're a lot rounder and twiggier than your sagebrush. And they have a different leaf. The leaf is more needle-like. Little fun fact about our Great Basin sagebrush is that it is an Artemisia. And Artemisia have so many different plants in that genus, but the species of this is tridentata, and if you look at the leaf, it looks almost like, you could find a good one, but they have these three little lobes on a leaf, and that can represent, to kind of remember that species name tridentata, a trident. They're kind of a bluish color, like maybe the sea. So that's fun. But yeah, something like this just requires, weeding. And once native plants are established, they really don't need a lot of water, hence the drought tolerance, of course. So one tool that we really like for weeding, especially these pathways, to keep them clear, is called a hula hoe. Some people call it a horseshoe hoe, but I think this is just a brand name. And basically, since it has this sharp edge at the bottom, you scrape it back and forth on a hot summer day, cut off the plants, and they will just dry up and at least be slowed down. This kind of thing does not work as well for a dandelion. Dandelions have a taproot that goes pretty deep, and so those you'll need to use something like a corey knife or a shovel to get dandelions. But this does work well for seedlings. The key to weed management with this kind of tool is to get them during the day when they'll lay on the surface and dry up from the heat, and also get them before they set seed. Because if they've already set seed and you're doing this and leaving them, those seeds will just continue the life cycle. So kind of interrupting that weed life cycle. But a few more things about native plant gardens is that you can look for native flowers to incorporate into your landscape if that's something. Right now it's way too early to show off too many flowers. Like I said, golden currant is blooming right now, but penstemons are great. So check out some penstemons, and there's so many different cultivars. You can specifically look for ones that are Idaho natives.
55 seconds.
There's also, thank you, there's also a lot of different penstemons that have been cultivated for beautiful blooms, great for hummingbirds, great for bees. So just reach out to us if you have any native plant landscape. This is definitely, any landscape questions, but this is definitely a more non-traditional style of gardening, but great and beneficial to our environment. So join us inside Be Wise Plant Society, or just reach out to us on Instagram at Be Wise Gardens. Can't wait to hear from you and tell us about your experience with native landscapes. So my lovely cameraman is saying it's time to go. So have a great day, and thanks for watching. Thanks to Argos TV for hosting us and putting these things together, and yeah, bye.